Happy New Year, and welcome to The King in Giallo. I'm Tanner Leeser, and for this final video of the year, I wanted to do something special. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I mostly cover Giallo films, wherein I have a point system of genre cliches I look for in each film as I review them, which at the end, all get added up and ranked how cliched they are. These points don't matter. This is all just for fun. Sometimes, like today, I run this system through movies which are in no way Giallo films, just for shits and giggles. These videos are called How Giallo Is. For this special episode, I will be looking at the 2024 horror film and maybe neo-Giallo film directed by the man who already brought us X and Pearl in the years preceding. So let's waste no time. Here is How Giallo Is, Maxine. Maxine is directed and written by Ty West. Music is composed by Tyler Bates. The cast is comprised of Mia Goth as Maxine Minx, Elizabeth Debicki as Elizabeth Bender, Moses Sumney as Leon, Michelle Monaghan as Detective Williams, Bobby Cannavale as Detective Torres, Halsey as Tabby Martin, Lily Collins as Molly Bennett, Giancarlo Esposito as Teddy Knight Esquire, Kevin Bacon as John Labat, and Simon Prast as Ernest Miller. The plot follows former adult film star Maxine Minx in the aftermath of X 2022, which saw the brutal killings of her co-workers while filming in rural Texas and the deranged elderly couple who hosted them, in which Maxine was the sole survivor. Set now in 1980s Los Angeles, the film chronicles Maxine's journey to stardom amidst the neon-soaked glitz and grit of the adult film industry. Maxine must navigate a world of excess, ambition, and danger as she claws her way toward fame in the shadow of exploitation. But the bodies begin piling up around her, bringing with them the scrutiny of local law enforcement, as well as a private investigator tasked with finding Maxine, a harbinger of her past, now come a-knocking at her door. But I digress. On to the review. Spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't yet seen the film. You've been warned. My prediction for the movie's GialliTally score. Now, because this film is stylistically taking quite a lot from the 1970s and 80s Giallo cinema, I would fucking think that the score might be kinda high. Well, I don't know, but something tells me it's not gonna be that crazy. But I will say that because this movie has a lot of kills, and because it had me thinking that we were getting a 2024 American Giallo homage film, that the score better be at least between 550 to 600 points. Well, let's begin the GialliTally and review portion of the video. Beginning, as always, with the previewing cliches. We'll skip over the repeat offenders. Cliche points for the title. Maxine. One-word title, 5 points. And would you look at that, it is plot o'clock. Heads up, I'm gonna be kind of a dick in this review. The movie opens with the studio logo synonymous with both quality, yet also pretentious plots. Look, I like A24, but I know some people who think of themselves as film people, you know what I mean? Like they saw Parasite and Oldboy, so they're really cultured, who truly think that A24 are God's gift to cinema. After the movie tells us who provided the catering, we finally begin. We watch an old black and white reel of a child dancing in 1959. C is for children, 5 points. This is a young Maxine, dancing for her preacher father upon his chancel. P is for priest, 5 points. And if you're like me, anytime you see a priest in a Giallo film, you're automatically suspicious that they are the killer. She says she wants to be just like him when she grows up and begins to say the mantra he taught her, but he chastises her for rushing it. She takes her time. Z is for Zoom, 5 points. Again, if you're like me, then you are 95% sure that her father will be the killer, considering he was set up at the end of the first film, and the first thing this movie does is remind us of him. We receive a quote from Betty Davis. Thanks, Betty. A studio door opens, and Maxine takes her seat for an audition. She is asked about her early career involving adult films. The woman dressed to kill takes interest. Maxine believes she has what it takes to be a star. The prompt is given to her, and she acts for the panel, doing a monologue. They're apparently impressed by blondes crying on command. This is the kind of work I saw in my first year at the conservatory before they beat this out of you. Fight through it, they would say. The struggle is more interesting. She is asked to show her breasts, and she obliges. Art featured, acting, cinema, extra points for it being central to the plot. 10 points. On her way out, Maxine tells off the competition.
Y'all might as well go home because I just fucking nailed that.
Reckless driving, 5 points. As she peels out, we are shown a montage of 1985, which include the satanic panic of the 80s, the first several victims of the Night Stalker, and the censorship craze of the 80s spearheaded by right-wing parental groups. Urban locales, 2 points. Airplane featured, 2 points. Maxine arrives at a strip club and pulls a Goodfellas as she walks through the entire venue, out back, and into the next building where some good old adult films are being shot. N is for nudity, 5 points. Aardvarking, 10 points. Maxine is up next, and so she gets ready. Later, her friend invites Maxine to a party in the hills, but she's working somewhere else tonight. After her friend leaves, Maxine takes a quick hit of Peruvian party powder from the fattest container I've ever seen. Illicit drugs taken, 5 points. T is for telephone, 5 points. Maxine answers the phone at home and talks to her agent about her not receiving a part due to her not being famous outside of adult movies. We learn that she has a pistol from Chekhov himself. Also, that she got cast in the movie she auditioned for. Congratulations. She tells this news to her friend, Leon, at the video store. They discuss her future success. Next, we follow an unseen person into this peep show. First person POV, 5 points. Killer's identity is hidden due to the framing and editing, 2 points. G is for gloves, extra points for them being black, 10 points. A coin is popped in, and the window opens. The dancer dances towards the mirror, aka the window. Mirror being used beyond its natural purpose, 2 points. U is for undercover, 5 points. V is for voyeur, 5 points. The killer seems very, very tense. I'll go with 98% certain this is Maxine's dad. He breaks the wood paneling off. Maxine waits for another friend outside, who also invites her to a party in the hills. Before she heads out, her friend tells Maxine that the house is under the Hollywood sign and requires a gondola ride to get there. Chekhov's detail? As Maxine walks along, she hitches a shortcut through the alleyway, but she is not alone. The way out is blocked by a chain link fence topped with barbed wire, and behind her is this man. K is for knives, 5 points. The Buster Keaton lookalike approaches Maxine. As cop cars speed by, the man threatens that she cannot escape. She draws the gun on him, and he drops the knife. She forces him to strip, get on his knees, and to fillet the gun barrel. She makes him lie face down. She then crushes his balls. Mutilation of genitals, 15 points. I'll be honest, this scene could be cut entirely from the film and would make it way more interesting. I'm sorry, but this is a horror film and it undermines the dynamic the genre is trying to set up if we know the character who will be stalked throughout the film is a total badass, bro. There's times where this movie just shoots itself in the foot. And it's not lost on me. I get what they're doing. She can handle herself, but again, that kind of undermines the tension. I like the gore, but really, we don't need this scene. Later, Maxine is asleep with her friend on the couch. There's a knock at the door, but the person is gone when she opens up. But they left behind something. A VHS tape. Odd clue, 5 points. The tape, labeled For Maxine, is police evidence which contains some of the footage she had shot in X. That's weird. Her friend, Leon, wakes up. Maxine pulls the tape out and goes to her room. Leon checks in with her, then heads home. Outside, we see a PI talking to someone in the backseat of the car over payment for both locating Maxine and for taunting her. Again, I was now, at this point, 100% certain this was Maxine's father because there's no one f***ing else it could be. This movie thinks it's so clever and so well written, and yet it spells everything out for you. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's find out. We cut to home video footage of someone in a hallway, then in a room, where they reveal Maxine's two friends from earlier, both tied up. Two men, dressed like Mormons, drag the first girl up to this green door. On the other side is the killer. We cut then to Maxine getting a cast of her head for the movie. As the plaster sets, Maxine has a few flashbacks from X. She then imagines someone coming behind her, feeling her up, then choking her. She falls back. Since this isn't real, I'm not going to count the molesting or the choking, but I will count H is for hallucinations, 5 points. Los Angeles detectives are then brought on the scene of 2 dead girls found in a park this morning, Maxine's friends. The bodies appear marked with occult symbols, similar to some of the slayings by the Night Stalker. In the parking lot, Maxine has another flashback of her deadly encounter. An assistant clues her in on a meeting with the director. She then notices a note left on her windshield. It is a photo with a phone number. She calls the number. It's the PI, who tells her to meet him or else she'll be back in jail. I don't remember her being in jail, but okay. The picture is an old yearbook photo of Maxine in a parochial school. Maxine meets the private investigator, who tells her such, and that he was hired to find her, but won't tell by who. But again, who the hell else could it be? When I first watched this, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's like the producers of the movie she was in, and they think she's responsible for them losing out. But this movie can only think in one direction. He lists off the names of everyone who died in Texas, including the elderly couple. He tells her that she cannot escape her past. She tells him that nobody can pin those murders on her and asks how much he wants to leave her alone, but he informs her that the man who is paying him is concerned with her retribution. Yeah, subtlety is not a word this movie knows. He gives Maxine a time and place to meet with his employer. Otherwise, they will smear her name by sending the tape and this newspaper clipping to the media. But I honestly am not totally clear how that blackmail is going to work. I mean, so it proves that she was there where everybody got killed, and so that means she's blacklisted without a due process? I get it, but at the same time, if you think it through, it's not actually a solid threat. On her way in, the 2 detectives stop Maxine and question her about her friends, whom she was the last person to see them both alive. Q is for questions, 5 points. She tells them that she doesn't talk to police. Next, Maxine takes the tape to Leon and asks for him to find out who made it. Okay. He can discern only the brand of tape being used, which is an uncommon one, and so he says he'll call around and inquire. Outside security, Maxine has yet another flashback. The security guard lets her in. That is Larry Fessenden, co-writer of the BAFTA award-winning video game Until Dawn, which I am a huge fan of. Maxine meets with the director and they drive through the Universal backlot. She tells Maxine that the producers were against casting her out of fear of the backlash for hiring an adult film star in a movie with satanic overtones, but the director stuck up for Maxine. Exposition dumping, 2 points. They park at the Bates Motel set. As the director talks, Maxine has another hallucination of Pearl. She gives Maxine some advice about showbiz and keeping her eye on the prize. Later, Maxine catches the PI stalking her. Nothing several good punches with keys to the face can't solve. The PI, John, claims it's personal now. Maxine bursts in and demands to speak to her agent, whom she tells her secret to. S is for secrets, 5 points. He tells her he will handle it, and for her to not worry about this PI and to focus on the film instead. She goes home and highlights her lines, which ominously foreshadow what's to come. Leon is attacked in the video store after hours. Extra points for K is for knives, for the blade getting bloodied, another 5 points. Mutilation of eyes, 5 points. E is for eyeballs. Extra points for eyeballs being mutilated, 10 points. Extra points for Z is for a zoom on eyeballs, another 5 points. The killer rips off Leon's cross earring and hops into John's car parked outside. In the morning, Maxine's agent, Teddy, calls and tells her that this PI, John, is no amateur in fact. He reminds her to be on time at work for her first day, but Maxine notices police cars outside. She comes out just as Leon's body is being carted off. Later, Maxine is shown the bodies of her friends. M is for morgue, 5 points. They tell her that the killings they believe are copycats and are being made to look like those of the Night Stalker. They imply that Maxine might be running with a rough crowd and should watch her back, lest she end up on the slab next time. Detective Williams apologizes for Detective Torres' bravado and promises that she just wants Maxine to help them catch this guy for the next innocent girl, but she says that maybe that girl should save herself like Maxine did. On set, Maxine is late and she is chewed out by the director. Maxine meets Molly, the star of the first Puritan film. There are a couple odd lines here which seem like the movie is last minute trying to set up the director as maybe the killer.
You want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. We've all got blood on our hands now.
But logically, that actually doesn't make any sense. Maybe I'm overthinking the dialogue, but honestly, I don't think this movie is thinking enough. We get a brief scene with Molly trying to give Maxine some advice for showbiz, before mentioning to her that she's got to get ready for this party in the hills tonight. Third time now. As she walks around the set, she again runs into John. How the hell does he keep getting on the back lot? The entire backlot, which was crawling with people in every scene beforehand, is now devoid of people. Something that never fucking happens. John chases Maxine. Foot chase, 5 points. He tackles her, but she gets away. They run here and there, then up to the psycho house. Maxine hides herself inside. John draws his gun and approaches the door, but is caught by security, who asks to see his pass. John fast talks him. L is for lies, 5 points. The director gives Maxine the weekend off and tells her to squash whatever concerns she has in the meantime. Montage of her getting dolled up. Animals featured junkyard dogs, 2 points. Later, at the club where she works, Maxine dances as John stalks about the scene. They make eye contact. She leaves, and he follows. John walks into a back room, then a bathroom, and begins calling out Maxine. He kicks down door after door, but discovers that she's jumped out the window. He storms outside, where he is blinded by headlights and ambushed by Maxine, Teddy, and Shepard. Hours later, John comes to, handcuffed to the steering wheel as his car sits in a car crusher. She says this is over as the compactor crushes the car with John inside. I legitimately did not think the movie was going to kill off Kevin Bacon's character in this scene. But bravo, that was brutal. The accomplice is killed, 5 points. F is for fashion, 5 points. Look at them. She thanks her agent for helping out. At home now, Maxine finds the letter to meet the mystery man, but she tosses it in the garbage. The news is mentioning another Night Stalker victim, which prompts another flashback, forcing Maxine to reconsider. She digs the letter out, then recounts how all the girls had told her the same thing before they were killed. Extra points for M is for morgue for us returning to the morgue, 5 more points. Maxine heads to the address, followed behind by the homicide detectives. She arrives beneath the Hollywood sign and ascends the gondola. She pushes inside the house. Spiral staircase, 5 points. In the hallway, seen earlier, we hear an audio recording of her father talking to her when she was a child. Again, 100% certain it's him, but the movie still has a chance to surprise me and blow my socks off. She edges closer and closer and enters inside. The tape finishes. Audio recording device, extra if used during a trap. 10 points. I know it's a VHS tape, but I will count it. And ladies and gentlemen, the killer is... Really? It's her fucking father. Duh. Extra points for P is for priest, for the priest being the killer. 5 more points. With an entire third act remaining, unfortunately this movie won't get points for waiting until the climax to do its killer reveal. Her father approaches her, expresses happiness for seeing her, disarms her, and offers to take her home. He confesses that he is making a film and has been filming the events around town to expose how Satan has infiltrated society, and he plans to use her. Ugh, so dumb. He reveals that he will get the devil out of her as his film's climax. Just then, Maxine knocks over a suitcase, spilling the dismembered remains of Molly just before her father knocks her out Black Christmas style. Everything goes black. We see what happened during the end of Maxine's audition, where she tells them that they need to cast her because she's going to be a star and the whole world will know her name. She awakens, tied up, with an entire clergy of production people. Her father walks in. O is for obsession, extra points for the killer being obsessed. 10 points. Her father removes her blindfold and tells her that he will make her more famous than Hollywood ever could, then apologizes for having to kill her friends because they wouldn't accept God's love. Ugh, bro, this is so 1980s and not in a good way. The camera is rolling and we get the most overblown, crazy preacher performance. Look, I know a lot of people who grew up with trauma, which stems from religious family, but this is too much. He exclaims that he will exorcise the devil from Maxine and expose Hollywood as the cult it is. He threatens to brandish Maxine with the devil's mark if she will not relent. Just then, the detectives interrupt the ceremony. A cultist draws a sawed-off, but is blasted by Williams. Ernest rallies the cultists to fight back against the complicit law enforcement, and a firefight ensues. Y is for yelling, 5 points. Ernest drops the brand and sets himself on fire. He jumps in the pool, extinguishes himself, and escapes into the hills. The detectives knock off most of the cultists. Maxine cuts herself loose, but is dragged into the pool. She struggles, then plunges a knife into the cultist's nose. Torres pursues Ernest. Williams follows. Maxine grabs the shotty and also goes off to find her father. On the Hollywood sign now, Maxine hears gunshots in the distance. She passes another dead cultist, then finds Williams and Torres. The latter is bleeding out from gunshot wounds. Williams leaves them to get help. Torres talks about his old dream of wanting to be an actor before he dies. Maxine follows the sound of gunshots. Williams jumps out from the shadows with a cross in her eye. She shouts, "I got him! I got him!" then collapses. Extra points for Wise for yelling for a hysterical woman yelling, another 5 points. Maxine finds her dad lying on his back, bleeding out. He expresses having the best intentions, but failing his daughter. A police helicopter looms overhead, the spotlight glaring down upon them. A voice calls to drop the weapon. Ernest calls his daughter a star. Things appear to unravel. We watch the news reporting that the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, was apprehended, and they then go to an interview with star of Puritan 2, Maxine Minx. R is for reporter, 5 points. The reporter asks Maxine about her own story of heroism by capturing her father, a copycat killer. She says this.
Why, yes, Diane, it was a harrowing experience.
We cut again to Maxine on the red carpet. The reporter here asks her about the film soon going into production about her own life story. Maxine tells the young women watching at home to never give up. The paparazzi lights become the helicopter spotlight as we find ourselves back on the Hollywood Hill. She makes her father repeat his mantra with her. She assures him that he did not fail her, but in fact gave her what she needed to succeed. She then pops his red tomato. The killer is killed by someone. 10 points. We go to black, then come back 1 month later. Maxine, still pounding more rails than an Irish immigrant, sits in her trailer. Now that's using a mirror beyond its natural purpose. The assistant knocks and informs her that they're ready for her. She tells herself this.
You're a fucking movie star.
During a rap speech, the director, Elizabeth Bender, gives a moment of silence for Molly. They go to work. Elizabeth tells Maxine that Molly never had what it took to lead the franchise onwards. They watch together a dream scene with Maxine's character's decapitated head. Maxine is asked what she'll be doing next, and she says that she never wants this to end. The credits roll over the fake head, then the camera pulls out of the studio, across the Hollywood sign, which now says Maxine, then floats up to space, and the movie ends. Real quick, let me say, I won't be adding extra points for any of these. N is for nudity, for someone being nude during their death, because we don't see this girl being killed while nude, we only find the bodies discovered nude. Nor for S is for secrets, for the killer having an impossible to predict motivation, because again, I figured it out in the opening 30 seconds. Obviously, her fire and brimstone preacher father is going around killing people and punishing them for their sinful lifestyles. And that's Maxine. Okay, again, no script here. I'm just going to go off the cuff. I kind of enjoyed this movie the first time I watched it. There's a lot of stuff for a Giallo fan to enjoy, but it's mostly kind of just surface level. I was really excited for this movie, thinking we were going to get a 2024 Neo Giallo film directed by the guy who did X, and I was so stoked for that. In terms of this being a Giallo, the movie completely falls flat. In terms of it just being like a slasher or just a horror movie, it's all right, but like I said, the ending is really bad. The last act entirely is bad. There are some really great scenes. I really like Leon's murder. I like John's kill in the car. There's some other good stylistic stuff, but ultimately I just did not like this movie. And rewatching it for the channel, I liked it even less. And it's crazy because I was so excited for this movie. I was so excited. But unfortunately, that's my thoughts. And do I consider this movie to be a Giallo? Not really. There's a lot of movies that are sort of Neo Giallo. People will say like Malignant. Malignant's not. Malignant has even less in it that makes it feel like one. I would say if you're a Giallo fan, go ahead and check it out. You might have a good time. You probably will like it more than I do. Depends on your tastes. But again, the one word I can think of for this movie is my review is disappointed. But let's segue to the GialliTally cliches for this movie. Post-Giallo viewing cliches. The reason for the killing. Mental illness, psychopathy, or obsession. 7 points. The reason for the investigation. Police investigator. 2 points. Unfortunately, this movie doesn't have Maxine becoming her own amateur sleuth, and I'm not counting the PI because he's never trying to solve the killings. He's openly an accomplice to the killer. So that's why it's only police investigator. Bonus points. The style bonus. The movie is pretty stylish, I'll say. I will give it that. It does utilize a lot of the Giallo style cliches. Crash zooms, although there could be more. Colored lights galore. Film effects. Slow-mos. There's a lot. Out of a maximum of 25 points possible, I will give Maxine 17 points for its style bonus. Soundtrack. You know, aside from one piece of music during Leon's kill, I have to say no. No points. Bad effects? No, the effects are great, including that fake dick and balls. No points. Final look. Extra points. The Deadpool, tallying how many kills and deaths are featured in the film. I break it down as thus: 10 points per kill or death scene for the main Deadpool, plus any stylistic kill multipliers, which we didn't add yet, plus the knife kill bonus. We have Amber, we don't see how, 10 points. Tabby, we don't see how, 10 points. Leon, impaled with a knife, 21 points. John Labat, I'm gonna say vehicular, 19 points. Molly, we don't see it, but since we see a head roll, I will grant decapitation, 20 points. I'm gonna speed through these. 9 cultists who all were shot dead, 90 points. This big cultist, impaled with a knife, 21 points. Detective Torres, shot dead, 10 points. Detective Williams, impaled, 16 points. So I could give points to falling to her death, but I don't think that fall killed her. I think she kind of just stumbled down a hill, but that cross in her eye definitely killed her. And Reverend Ernest Miller, shot dead, but since his head was actually blown off and we see the effect, I will grant the same points as if it was a decapitation. 20 points. I mean, I have to. I can't just give that bare points for a kill. Extended Deadpool for those other deaths mentioned but not seen. I'll give 3 points for each. Now, I will only count the deaths in X which were mentioned, and no, I'm not counting the Buster Keaton guy because I'm pretty sure he's fine. I mean, he doesn't have a working dick anymore, but that would not kill him. We have Wayne, Bobby Lynn, RJ, Jackson, Lorraine, Howard, Pearl, and 6 victims of the Night Stalker, all mentioned but not seen. 39 points. Red herrings for the total number of legitimate suspects in the film. 5 points per legit suspect are awarded. We have Reverend Ernest Miller, the Night Stalker, and John Labat. 15 points. Honestly, this movie was very disappointing for me in this regard. They gave us no one to suspect beyond the obvious. The father, the PI who hired him, and the actual real-life serial killer, who obviously it was not going to be the revealed killer. Flashback sequences, 5 points each. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 55 points for flashbacks. Nudity, I award 5 points for ass, 7 for breasts, and 10 for genitalia. We have breasts, ass, breasts and ass, breasts, ass and genitalia, breasts, ass and breasts, and ass. 70 points for nudity. Ladies and gentlemen, for Maxine, I awarded the film an AZ score of 19 out of 26. With the bonus points for these, we have a modified score total of 135 points. And for the full GialliTally score, I award Maxine a GialliTally score of 689 points. Compared to Short Night of Glass Dolls in first with 968 points, The Case of the Bloody Iris in second with 830 points, and Slaughter Hotel in third with 827 points, Maxine would be in around 9th place, behind A Bay of Blood. But compared to the non-Gialli films, Maxine is the new leader for the non-Giallo films, with Friday the 13th Part 5 A New Beginning now in second with 685 points, and cruising now in third with 469 points. So I predicted 550 to 600 points, and I was close. I actually had to redo my prediction as I was going through it because I totally forgot the last scene where there's just a shootout. I'm like, oh, that's right. There's a lot of people who actually get killed. I didn't remember there actually being as much nudity as there was, or as many flashbacks as there were. So I kind of had to go and like reconsider it before I actually added everything. And originally I said 400, 450, and I was like, I'm going to change that real quick. Let's say it's probably going to be 550 to 600. But yeah, anyways, doesn't matter. Because like I say, these points do not mean a movie is better or worse. Please like this video, share it with your friends if they are horror fans or cinephiles. Subscribe to The King in Giallo if you haven't yet. And if you have any questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, leave those below in the comments section and I will get back to you. Give The King in Giallo a follow on Instagram and a like on Facebook. Subscribe to The King in Giallo Patreon to see early access, plus exclusive content found only there. I do not have any planned content coming up for a while. I will be putting out talking head videos just to supplement the channel so that I'm not completely dark, but I will actually be taking a brief hiatus to work on a few other YouTube channels that I was not able to do in 2024 because I just went full into The King in Giallo. And I'm sorry, but I hope I don't lose any people in that meantime, but like I said, I'm going to try to get content out anyway. It's just not going to be scripted, super edited videos like these reviews. But hey, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you so much for a great year. I broke 1,000 subscribers. I became monetized. Not making a whole lot of money, but it's better than nothing. And the future looks bright for this channel. I'm so happy for this whole journey. I'm happy with a lot of the people I've been introduced to in the comments and who messaged me on Instagram. And I look forward to just keep doing this. And I hope you enjoy this channel. But this is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo. And if nothing else, I'll see you next time.